What's going on, guys? Philip at Trade Genius. Well, depending on which exchange you were looking at, Bitcoin made a new all-time high just shy of 3 years later from its previous all-time high, just under 20,000. Coinbase did not, but if you look at other exchanges such as Kraken and Bitstamp, they did eke out a new high. There's a little bit of a concern here on the price action at these highs that I do want to talk about in this video, so that's what we're going to cover. The multi-time frame indicator that we are giving away with the renewals, if you do the Cyber Monday, we're still holding over this $2.99 price, which is the low of the year. You're not going to get the bundle number one for that any lower than any other time of the year, but we're going to throw in this multi-time frame indicator with that new indicator that we have. It dipped red for the first time on that pullback. So I'm going to talk about what happened here and what we can likely expect going forward, but we really want to key in on the price action here. So I think you'll find this to be a pretty interesting video, so check it out.
Trade Genius.
All right, guys, so this is Coinbase BTC USD. Now, you've heard me talk about swing failures before, and that's exactly what we have set up here. The multi-time frame indicator went red for the first time since really the start of the bull run around the 11,000 mark or so, and it stayed green, never really crossing the zero line. In fact, zero line, the way this works is on a good trend, are areas for support for a bounce actually. Dipped well into it here, and on pullbacks, and this area I still think is in play, this 14,000 to 14,700 or so, 800 level, I think is definitely a spot that could see a pullback too. It would be par for the course as far as pullbacks in percentages terms. If you look from the highs down to there, that's about a 28%, almost 30% move. That would be completely normal in the realm of Bitcoin. So what we have to see is this cycle going to see shallower pullbacks because there's bigger money now flowing into the space? That remains to be seen. I think between now and say the end of January will give us a good view as to what size of pullbacks we can expect going forward into the rest of the year. That usually sets the tone. So if all we get is like a 20% pullback, that might be the norm, and then we only see maybe 15 to 25% pullbacks through the rest of the year, which would be shallower than what we've seen in the past. But again, this cycle is mostly going to be institutional driven at these higher prices, more so than retail, which has been a factor in the cycles past, and probably going to see more retail action in the altcoin space while the institutional funds take Bitcoin to much higher price levels. So we are looking at, on the daily, a swing failure pattern. And the swing failure pattern basically means that if you have a previous high and you take it out, you really want to close above that previous high. If you don't, that's a swing failure, and that's bearish. And I'll show you some examples of why that's bearish. If we look at the chart here, you'll notice that it doesn't always, now this isn't something that always happens, always rolls over, but it can, and you want to be aware of it. So technically, like here, right, you had a previous high, you came up, poked above it. What happened? You rolled over. And after this daily close, you basically dropped from 18,704 all the way down to 17,550. So that's a pretty decent drop. If you're trading that, that's a decent percentage gain on futures, for example. Now here's one, previous high, you get a swing failure, not a lot of traction. You did dip lower the next day, but not a ton. They bought it back up, and higher we went. Here's another swing failure where it pokes above this high and then rolls over for the next couple of days. Same here, rolls over for a few days. So you want to be aware when they happen, because that's potentially a bearish setup. Even happens on the weekly if you look at the weekly chart. Now, this last week was a swing failure on the weekly, okay? And we came up and actually made a new high here. So this could be a swing failure of that high this week. So we have to keep tabs on that, but it's a new week, so we don't know yet. But if you look at previous times where that's happened, more recently here, you can see this one made a new high, closed under the previous high, and then the next 1 to 2 weeks dumped. You see that here too. Previous high comes up, takes it out, but closes under it, and then next 3 to 4 weeks of down. Same thing here, down. So you just want to be aware of when these set up. Okay, so this is the weekly, but again, we're talking about the daily, and the daily more of a concern because it's happening at all-time highs and the previous high here. So I think if this locks in, we have a couple more hours before this locks in. So you want to watch on the daily bar. If you're looking at Coinbase, you want to see if this 19,500 level, if we can get a daily close above it. If we do, that's going to be very bullish. If you look at other exchanges like say Kraken, for example, not only would you get a swing failure on the daily, you're also doing it at the all-time high as well. So that's something to consider. I think Bitstamp is the same situation. Yep, you got daily and also at the all-time high, you're not closing above it on a daily chart. So we could see a couple days where this rolls over. This whole area here could be a candidate for just consolidation, and then we see a higher high after that. So this week will be important to see if we can get a close above these previous levels and then it doesn't turn into a weekly swing failure pattern. That's really going to be key for this week going forward. So you just want to keep an eye on that. Potentially a bearish scenario here, even though we're at all-time highs and people are thinking we're going to bust higher. You know, we did not make an all-time high on Coinbase. Okay, so just keep that in mind. North of 20K, I think we could see a pretty quick move, maybe in the blow-off category, up into that 24,000 area. That remains to be seen. But you do need to be aware of this level here, of this pattern, and a potential that we might come back off this move a little bit, and at the very least, back test some of this move and possibly set up some kind of consolidation in here, or we go back lower and we take a look at that zone I was talking about here on this Coinbase chart, and this zone from 14,800 down to 14,100. If we take out this low of 16,198, let's just say this thing does roll over, that's what I'd be looking at as far as a low, and I think a great opportunity to get long risk reward wise. Okay, so congratulations to all you guys that have been holding Bitcoin all this time, and those of you that might have been underwater for a while on Bitcoin. This is the year where your hodling is going to pay off bigly. But it's not surprising that we do see some resistance up here for those that may have been holding from the all-time highs and are happy to get out of break even and reassess the trade at that point. So not unusual for that at this point. So anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you find it helpful. Stay on your toes up here. If you're in the room, again, we're doing up to the minute updates on the Telegram room and giving you guys kind of the play-by-play of what's going on in the crypto world right now. So look forward to seeing you guys in there. And if you're thinking about joining us, head over to tradelikeagenius.com or tradegenius.co and sign up over there. Thanks, guys. Talk to you on the next video. Bye-bye.
Trade Genius.